So hi everyone, this is Claudia again from Bubblespark, and I'm back after a long period of non-creativity because I didn't have any inspiration. All of a sudden I was in the zone again. So excuse my table, it's a mess, but you know, when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. So let's get started. I got my inspiration from this film strip clip arts that I printed, and I will show you briefly what are the elements I'm gonna use. A lot of them are from clip arts and digital papers, so here we go. These are the film strips that I printed on normal paper. This is some nice clip art cameras that I cut with my scissors. The sky is from the Starry Night, and all the elements that I'm gonna put on the film strip I cut with my scissors from that kind of how do you say, space papers. Because my trimmer has the blade is a bit dull and it really leaves some frames, I decided to completely distress the edges because it's easier than try to make it straight, and I have to buy a new blade, so sorry for that. I don't usually distress the edges, but this case I think it looks better than the non-distressed ones. I'm gonna choose two colors, one a little bit bigger and one smaller, and I'm gonna arrange them at an angle. And first of all, I decided that this white was a bit too bright and I needed to put some mist there, so I wanted to do some splotches of some really sparkly blue. And I've seen this done in lots of videos, and I thought, oh, how hard can it be? Well, apparently it's very hard because I cannot get this thing going. Mist actually got all over the place except the places where I wanted it, and I made a mess on my mat. I had to clean it up and I had to edit that part. In the end, I ended up just dabbing the tip and then touching the tip to the paper to get some ink in. I do not know how those girls in all those videos do it. I just cannot get this thing working properly. Anyway, while I let that one dry, I'm gonna work on my sentiment here. And I'm using white embossing, and I usually use white embossing on a darker colored paper. And this is again from the Starry Night. It's a night sky with a nice dark color. The sentiment I put together from this paper smooches set, and it's called and I put together You're My Universe. And I was planning to use all the elements from the stamp set, but then I realized that my film strips are a bit too small for the size of the elements in the stamp set, so that's why I cut the clip arts out of that bigger paper that I printed. So now the trick with heat embossing is that I found it works better if you let your heat tool just hit a bit, and then you quickly move around your words. Then this one embosses much faster and it doesn't work the paper as much. I'm cleaning now my powder because I use this powder so that my this baby powder kind of contraption, the EK subset powder tool, so that my embossing powder doesn't stick to anywhere else than my Versamark ink. And now I'm cutting a thin strip for the sentiment, and I'm gonna cut it at an angle as well. And I'm gonna leave that little star on that end there. It's gonna look nice. Okay, and now I have almost all the elements, and I'm gonna try to, you know, assemble the card. First, I want to make sure that I have kind of all the clip arts I need, and I die cut some rockets, some moon and shooting stars, some planets, and that one, that gray one, is actually Sputnik. It's a satellite. And I have some veneer stars that I'm gonna add in the end once I have all the placements. I usually glue paper together with Tombow Mono Multi Glue. This is a liquid glue and it's really nice because it dries clear, so even if I smush it a little bit now, I don't mind. And you don't need a lot, it's really good glue because it holds for like forever, unlike my glue roller, which apparently my cards just fall apart after a few months, like after 2 or 3 months the glue just dries out. It's really annoying, but oh well, it cannot be helped. Kind of almost all glue rollers have that, but this liquid glue is really good, so I'm just gonna use this one for now, and I'm gluing all the elements. I'm trying to leave as much as the splatter there, so I'm trying to position my elements so that the blue ink spots are still visible on the card. And maybe you don't see it so good yet, but I'm sure you will see it in the end picture. Now I'm gluing together the front panel, and I'm forgetting that first I wanted to actually glue the film strips and then the other parts, but in the end I end up not cutting them. I'm just gonna let them there. It's much easier to line things up once you're standing, but if I do that I'll just mess up my camera, so I try to do it at an angle. Now I'm going to film. I'm gonna put the film strips there, and they look really nice, and I decide to just glue them down, and then I'll put my sentiment on. Of course, now that I think about it, after I made these cards, I would have probably next time print the film strips on maybe a vanilla cardstock and not so bright white. I mean, now that I look at it, it really bothers me that I printed it on white. But still, it's a nice card how it's ends up. So now I want to put that camera there to signify that I took those pictures somewhere in space, but I realized that the upper part of the camera, the flash, is too big and it's kind of standing on top of the other elements, so I cut that part out. It still looks like a nice camera, and I'm gonna use some EK Success dots to give some dimension to the camera and to the sentiment. These are not the regular height that I use. It's a little bit shorter, but it still gives a nice effect because they're like standing on top of everything else. And now of course I need to learn not to commit to actually gluing everything down before I make sure it's straight, but that's a lesson to learn for next time. And now I'm arranging my wood veneer, and those ones I usually glue with glossy accents. This is a really nice glue, and if I would use Tombow Mona multi-glue, those wood pieces will just move around quite a lot, and I don't like that part. I decided I needed to color the wood pieces with some blue marker, and I'm not gonna color them fully, but I'm just gonna draw some lines on top of them, make them a little bit distressed, because the wood was really losing itself on that all that white. And then I'm putting some glossy accents on top, and I'm putting also some glossy accents on the lens of the camera. In the end, I think that was it. This one is another card I tried with different colors and different techniques. I stamped all those flowers, and I use edge die absolutely to die cut my sentiment. I hope you enjoy it, and see you next time.